המשך בדרך.
תודה, בהצלחה.
It is stated that Israel will try to create a buffer zone in Gaza after the end of the war, and four Arab countries are aware of this plan. How do you evaluate this possibility?
I hope it will not happen, but it might happen. I mean, nobody knows what will happen after the war. I mean, I don't see Israel leaving Gaza so quickly. But, you know, to demand Gaza for a buffer zone, the whole Gaza Strip is so narrow. Now we will start with buffer zones. Where will the people live exactly? So for sure now in the war, you don't expect them to have a conscience toward and pay at least solidarity with the victims of Gaza. That's the face of Israel. And right now, Israel, after the 7th of October, Israel is even more not tolerant to listen to any voice of solidarity with the Palestinians, because for the average Israeli, all Gaza is Hamas. All Gaza killed, kidnapped, and raped our sons and daughters, and therefore all Gaza must be punished. That's a very dangerous shift and very dangerous position.
Has international law not been working since October 7th, or have we been facing this problem for past 55 years?
International law never worked against the Israeli occupation. Israel is violating the international law on a daily basis in the West Bank. What is else new? I mean, any settlement in the West Bank is a violation of the international law. Any taking Palestinian prisoners into jails in Israel is a violation of the international law. Any collective punishment is a violation of the international law. And Israel never took into consideration the international law. Now, when it's launching a war on Gaza, for sure the international law is more or less the last consideration of Israel.
Is Israeli society ready to compromise for peace? What is the mood? Is there growing anger towards Netanyahu, or is it necessary to conclude on behalf of Israeli society that all this results in a national unity sentiment extending to extreme nationalism?
I mean, I must remind you that Gilad Shalit was a soldier who was in Hamas jail for 5 years. Israel paid with 1,000 Palestinians, prisoners. So if you do this account, it's very clear that Hamas will not agree to release the soldiers for less than few thousand Palestinian prisoners. And here there will be an argument in Israel. And it brings us to the moment of truth, what Israel wants. Does it want release of the hostages, or does it want crushing Hamas? There will be a moment of truth in which Israel will have to decide. I'm afraid we got already to this moment 2 days ago. And now Israel made the choice to continue the war, which means sacrificing or at least endangering the hostages. And the Israeli society lives with this in peace. Unfortunately, there is a total support to continuing the war. It's always when the right-wingers, the nationalists are doing something and then it goes wrong, then they come and say, okay, what do you suggest? No. I wouldn't put a siege on Gaza 16 years ago. And then maybe Hamas wouldn't become so strong in Gaza based on the siege and on the impossible, inhuman conditions of life in Gaza. In any case, right now, an idea of an international force who will take over Gaza for a while is a good idea. I would just hope that there will be a force that will be willing to get there. Gaza must be rehabilitated. All this terrible instruction that Israel did must be rehabilitated, because people are homeless. 2 million people will be homeless by the end of this war, and someone has to take care of them, and only the world can take care of them. They cannot help themselves, so an international force is a good idea, sure.
So can we say that is Israel a racist regime, or is it beyond to the Netanyahu government, or it is because of Netanyahu government?
No, it's much beyond Netanyahu. Netanyahu has his share, obviously, but Israel would react, I think, almost the same way if it wouldn't be Netanyahu now in power. I think that Israel would do the same things, because you saw also other prime ministers launched brutal attacks on Gaza and they were not Netanyahu. Netanyahu didn't invent this policy of beating Gaza again and again, destroying Gaza again and again, and hoping that this will lead to some better place, which it won't. So it's not Netanyahu, that's Israel.
Giora Eliant, former head of the National Security Council and from the Israeli Defense Forces, stated epidemics in Gaza are good for Israel. Severe outbreaks in the south will bring victory closer and reduce deaths among the IDF soldiers. There hasn't been much reaction to these words. In your words, what if a European commander said that they would kill a nation with a pandemic?
This was a Nazi idea, not less than a Nazi idea, and I don't use this word many times, but this time this came from a mainstream general. He's not a right-winger. He's a mainstream general speaking in Nazi terms, and what is not less astonishing is that, as you say, there was hardly any reaction to it. So this just shows you how the Israeli society is moving toward really an extreme right, losing any morality. I don't have to even to explain why is it so horrible. I mean, every viewer understands how horrible, criminal, and Nazi is such an idea.
Sverige och EU står enat i att Israel har rätt till folk till försvar innan
Maybe you watched the video. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson made a serious gaffe. In an outdoor meeting, he corrected the statement, Israel has the right to commit genocide, to it has the right to legitimate defense. At last minute. Does this reflect what is on people's mind?
Look, it's question of definition. It's a mass killing and mass murder, no doubt. We are reaching almost 20,000 people killed in Gaza. You don't have to define it by name. You see the results.
Does Benjamin Netanyahu have a future in Israel politics after all the...
No, I don't think that Netanyahu has a political future. Polls shows now that there are over 70% of Israelis who want him to resign. It includes voters of his own party. And I don't see him surviving, even though he already survived many tough moments in his career. But this time, I don't see it happening.
Is it just about Netanyahu or all the old faces of Israeli politics?
Mainly Netanyahu, but it will include his government. It will not be the government, the next government will not be a Likud government. The polls show it very clearly. But the policies will not change much. Don't have any expectations from the others. They will not be very different when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to wars, when it comes to occupation, to apartheid. They will not be much different. There is this myth that if only Netanyahu goes, everything will be solved. No.